All right, that is Anchor Thieves, The Last Surviving Coyote on the Local Buzz. What's up, guys? Andy Herrin broadcasting live from the Wholesale Ink Mount Juliet Studios. But tonight's a special night. I'm not alone. My buddy Robin Wilson of the Gin Blossoms is here with me, keeping me company. What is up, man?
Hello, Andy.
Dude, welcome to town.
Thank you. You got a great DJ voice.
Hey, does it sound like I'm trying to do that, though?
No.
Okay.
It makes perfect sense.
Cool, just making sure, because I always try not to be too much of the hey guy, but, that's why I appreciate that very much.
It's really cool to be here with you, Andy.
Dude, yeah.
Wow. So I want your listeners to know our story.
Yeah, we go back.
So the way I remember it is that, well, for your listeners, I used to run a recording studio in Tempe, Arizona, and I believe that I met you because you guys contacted me and asked me to produce your record.
Yep, nailed it.
Okay, is that what happened?
Yeah.
All right. And so we started exchanging emails and stuff, and then we did a show or two together in St. Louis.
Yeah,
and Andy's band was called, for your listeners, Andy's band was called One Lone Car, and they were a great band.
Thanks.
And I immediately, when I'm on the road, we play with so many local bands around the country, and when I meet one that I see has all the required elements for success, songwriting and stage presence and the will to do it.
Yeah.
I latch onto those groups, and you guys, One Lone Car was one of the bands that I tried with my limited resources to help along. You guys wanted me to produce your record, and I tried to set it up, and I couldn't find the time, and it didn't work. So I set you up with Arizona-based producer Jamie Wolford.
Oh, yeah.
And Jamie had been making a lot of records in my studio. And again, for those who don't know, Jamie was in The Stereo and Let Go.
Let Go, that's right.
And both well-renowned groups. And he's really a fantastic producer, one in 1,000.
Yeah, he really is.
His ears are as good as any other producer I've ever worked with.
Oh, absolutely.
Really good. And so I set you up with Jamie, and you guys came into town, and you were there for, 2 or 3 weeks?
I think it was 2 weeks, I think.
All right.
2 weeks in Tempe.
And I remember we went to see one of those Pirates of the Caribbean movies, and I fell asleep. I fell asleep during a sword fight, and I woke up like an hour later, and it was still sword fighting.
So, I remember you saying that.
But,
oh, man.
All right. I'm glad I remember exactly, how this all began.
Yeah.
And so we've been friends ever since. And I remember riding in your van with you guys, listening to Highway to Hell.
Oh, yeah.
That was a great drive.
Yeah. Those were the days, man. 12 years ago, which is weird.
So here we are in the future. And, I'm still a rock singer, and you're still a rock drummer. And now you also have this gig as a DJ.
Yeah, but moonlighting at it.
Way to go. Way to go. You definitely ended up in a great group. That record you guys made was fantastic, and I had as much as anyone really high hopes for One Lone Car.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Right on, dude. So the Gin Blossoms, you have a new record out called Mixed Reality, which I definitely want to get into all that stuff. Yeah. But I mean, you guys are celebrating 30 years as a band now, is it?
I think Christmas Day of this year will be our 30th anniversary, yes.
30 years as a band, man. That's a long time. I know you guys just did the 25th anniversary of New Miserable Experience.
Mm-hmm.
And thinking back to those days, man, does it feel like 30 years? Does it feel like a million years? Or does it feel like 10 years?
It feels like a combination of all those things.
Yeah.
And it's funny, you and I earlier today, we met up and we went to see the Rolling Stones Exhibitionism exhibition over at the Rock and Roll, what is it, the Musicians Hall of Fame?
Yeah, Musicians Hall of Fame.
And when we were there, you and I, we did the math that if the Gin Blossoms survive for another 25 years, we'll be where the Stones are now. And that is beyond my ability to imagine.
Yeah.
First of all, 30 years couldn't have possibly predicted it or planned for it or whatever. It's a miracle of chaos mathematics that we are still a band in 2018 and that we sell more tickets than we ever have. And we just released what I think is maybe our best record ever. It's amazing. And again, something nobody could predict it.
And when you guys started out, how quickly did it happen for you guys to get a major label deal? I know back in those days, it seems like it's weird because it seems like it was harder to get noticed, but it was easier to get people to take a risk, I guess, if that makes sense. So how hard was it?
I suppose it would depend upon the label, but obviously this was before the internet. So in order to get the attention of a major label, you would basically have to be like the biggest band in your town, or at least have a great deal of buzz and following in a regional way. For us, we got noticed at South by Southwest, which, to a band in Tempe, that was like Emerald City. It was just the promised land if you could go to South by Southwest. So we did that in 1989, and that's really where everything kind of kicked off for us.
Yeah.
We made a lot of contacts. It started with ASCAP. They started getting us these monthly showcases in Hollywood. So once a month in 1989, we would drive out to Hollywood and we would do these 5-song showcases at the Coconut Teaser. And like every band in America that was trying to get a deal would play these things. Like we did a show one night with Rage Against the Machine, and everybody's looking for deals.
Yeah.
So
that's amazing.
That's how it worked in those days. You in order to get a deal, you had to be really, really good, and it wasn't as simple as just putting something on the internet or on YouTube. I don't mean to downplay anyone who succeeded by going that route.
Yeah.
Because in the end, it always comes down to great songs. If you have a great song, it doesn't necessarily matter how long your band has been together or whether or not you've even played a live show.
Yeah.
That's, in my opinion, the most important thing is that you need songs.
Yeah.
And we were lucky in those days to not only have a big regional following, but we had great material.
And then whenever the record took off, was it 92 or 93 whenever Hey Jealousy hit?
It came out in October 92, and Jealousy became a hit in May, June of 93.
Okay.
And at that point, it just exploded. But
yeah.
we had a really slow build-up to the record taking off, so we were plenty humble. And, you can't say by any stretch that it was an overnight success.
Yeah.
We bled for that. We were basically in the van for like a year and a half straight. Then all of a sudden in the middle of that, it's like, wow, you got a top 40 hit.
Yeah.
You get your first bus. That was our first Shed tour was that summer, opening for UB40.
Oh, that's right.
And then, a legend was born that would last at lunchtime.
What was that like for you as a younger dude, like to have that everything goes from like in a van, all of a sudden having hits and being on a bus and playing TV shows? I know you guys did like Letterman and Leno and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What was that like at the moment? Were you aware of it, or do you think it was all kind of like...
I was aware, and it was exciting. And, what's sad is that the band wasn't as happy as a band as we could have been. I can only imagine how amazing it must be to go through all of that and have everybody in the band like getting along and on the same page as far as how to present it and how far to take it. And we were all over the place. We always were until recently. And now, once you battle down all of those demons and all the things that make it difficult to be in a band and you survive as a veteran group, suddenly you come out the other end and we've all got kids, and it's more about the group and ability to keep this thing going.
Yeah.
More so than any one person's experience or ambitions. We're more functional and we get along better than we ever have.
30 years in. I love it.
Go figure.
That's the secret. Just make it last 30 years and everyone works it out.
Yeah. And like I said, I've always given our kids a lot of credit. We're kind of in it for each other's kids too.
Yeah.
And, it's lucky we've got all the tools to do that, to make a living and to keep a band going. But the coolest thing is that we're somehow at the top of our game. Our new record, I think, could very well be our best album ever.
Yeah.
We're performing as good or better than we ever have, and we're selling more tickets, and it's just like the brass ring. Go figure. And we're at the top of the mid-level.
Yeah.
Like after all these years.
Yeah.
So it feels really great, and I'm very satisfied, and the band's good.
Right on, man.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into a tune-off Mixed Reality. Right. This is the single. This is called Break.
Yeah, all right.
And you guys have a video for this out that I've seen on like YouTube, and you can share it on the social sites and everything.
Yeah, I hope you include a link to this.
I will.
With your blogs and your website and stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I directed this video. It involves two of my favorite things: skateboarding and Arizona, and also there's puppies.
Right on. Brand new Gin Blossoms here off Mixed Reality. Song's called Break. Turn this one up. Brand new Gin Blossoms there with the song called Here Again on the Local Buzz. And I got Robin Wilson, singer of the Gin Blossoms, here in the studio.
Hi, Andy.
Dude, thanks for hanging, man.
Thank you for having me.
It's exciting to have you here.
This is really cool. This is our day off.
Yeah.
So
you're working either way. I love it.
We had a show cancel, and Jesse and Scott immediately said, "Well, let's go to Nashville." And so as soon as I thought, well, I'll be spending a night off in Nashville, I thought maybe I can worm my way onto Andy's radio show. And that worked out really good for me.
One thing today, you mentioned earlier, we went to the Rolling Stones exhibit over at the Musicians Hall of Fame today. We were walking through, they had all the gear in the road cases room, and you said to a security woman, you asked if you could shake one of the tambourines because you're a professional tambourine player, which is true. And I wanted to ask you, I remember being a kid and seeing Jim Blossoms play. I think it was on Leno or one of those late night shows. And it was the only time I've ever seen a singer play tambourine. And I remember it looked cool. And I was like, I've never seen anybody rock a tambourine like that. Why did that come around? Why do you play the tambourine?
Well, because I stand upon the shoulders of giants. I've been inspired by singers that are better than me and cooler than me.
Yeah.
And there's a number of them. Of course, you hear a lot of tambourine on Beatles records, but specifically, I will give credit to Ian Astbury of The Cult.
Okay.
So The Cult was one of the coolest bands ever, I think, and thought Ian Astbury's stage presence was so sexy and so powerful. And I remember seeing in those days, you had to watch 120 minutes on MTV, and it came on Sunday night at like 10 o'clock or midnight or something like that. And that was the only place you could see videos for The Cult or New Order or whatever it was. They broadcast some live clips of The Cult out on tour. This was like 85.
Okay.
And I just thought Ian Astbury was so cool playing the tambourine. I decided right then and there, I am going to become a tambourine player, and if I'm ever a lead singer in a rock band, I'm going to make that a part of my thing.
Yeah.
And so I've taken that to its furthest possible point, you know? And so I've not only mastered the art of performing with the tambourine, but I make it a big part of my show. I share tambourines with the audience. I teach the people in the crowd to play it. And, we just heard Break a few minutes ago. My son, Gray, who's now 16, he'll be 17 soon.
Mind-blowing.
He played the tambourine on Break.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I brought him down to North Carolina when we made the record, and Gray played tambourine, and he also did hand claps with Don and Mitch.
Oh, nice.
And he did the cowbell on the dirtiest song I've ever written, The Devil's Daughter. And I'm just so proud of him. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, I want to mention Don and Mitch for your listeners who don't know. In the 80s, I was working at record stores, and you get to hear everything. And everybody in the record store has different diverse tastes. But one thing everybody was listening to was REM.
Yeah.
And so those REM records were hugely important to people who were my age in the 80s who were into music. And so I was immediately made aware of Don Dixon and Mitch Easter, who produced the first 3 REM records.
Yeah.
And then, excuse me, so later, a few years later, I'm working at a different record store, and Don Dixon is still producing some of my favorite albums, which included Marshall Crenshaw's Mary, Jean, and 9 Others.
Yeah.
And then he produced the first 2 Smithereens records.
Oh, that's right.
I was always a huge fan of all of Don's records. And it was really amazing for me to bring my son to the studio where my band was making a record with Don and Mitch.
Yeah.
And my son gets to do hand claps with them. That was maybe one of the single greatest moments of my life, to be able to even conceive of such a thing.
Yeah.
And so here we are. And
it's like a full circle moment with that.
It is, very much so.
Yeah.
And so that's Gray playing tambourine on Break. And then the second song we heard, Here Again, was composed by lead guitar player Jesse Valenzuela and his songwriting partner, Danny Wilde.
Oh, yeah.
And so Danny and Jesse write together all the time. They're constantly churning out great songs for movies and TV and commercials and stuff. And 4 of the songs on our new record were written by Danny and Jesse, and that's my favorite one, Here Again. And so we're looking at that like it's a potential single.
Yeah.
We're playing it every night in our live shows this summer, and it's great.
Right on, man.
It's really cool. Yeah.
Talking to Robin Wilson of the Jim Blossoms right now on the local bus.
Hello, Andy.
Man, so I think for you guys, you did the 25th anniversary tour and then jumped with this new record coming right back out. Mm-hmm. And it seems like the tickets, like you'd said, are selling more, and like it's the band's really, because a lot of people I don't think realize you guys got back together like in 2002, right?
Yes, we were apart from 97 through 2002.
Okay.
And that was the wrong time to break up because it was a really bad time for rock and roll music. And so when we started up again in 2002, we were at a significantly lower level than we were.
Yeah.
And so we've been rebuilding pretty much since then. And where things really began to turn around for us was in 2012 and 2013 when we did the Summerland and
Summerland.
Under the Sun tours.
Yeah.
On those tours, we had the middle slot on both of those tours, and that's where things really kind of took off because we're playing amongst our peers, credible bands like Everclear and Smash Mouth and Sugar Ray and our friends in Fastball and Vertical Horizon and, Lit.
Yeah.
Great bands. Marcy Playground was the other one.
Oh, yeah.
And somehow we were the most consistent and professional operation on both of those tours. And it amazed me.
Yeah.
That the other bands, some of them anyway, were all looking to us for sort of leadership.
Yeah.
and I was like, wow, how did this work? How did this happen? And I had always been shooting for us to get back to a place like that. And it really sort of crystallized in those 2 summers. And ever since then, we've been on the rise and we've been doing bigger and better shows. And so I knew if we could, put out a good record that we would be able to step up another notch. There's all these levels to the mid-level. You got groups like Goo Goo Dolls and Train who are at the top of the mid-level.
Yeah, I could see that.
All right, these are the highest paid bands. These are the bands that get the biggest shows.
Yeah.
That are in my world, you know, and from our generation and such. And then, just below them, you have groups, or, you would have to include also, say, Collective Soul. In that top tier. And then, below them, you have groups like us and Sugar Ray and Everclear and stuff. And we do good, and we're all good bands, and, we get a lot of good shows, but we're not making the same kind of money and doing the same sort of shows as the top tier. And then below us, we have all these great, credible groups like the ones we just got off on tour with, Tonic and Vertical Horizon. These are fantastic bands that never broke up. They're not quite at the level we are in terms of ticket sales, and we're not quite where Collective Soul and Train are, it's just all this, all this competition, and it's competition only in the sense that our managers and all the bean keepers are like after the same stuff, The way I look at, my peers is that we're all in it together.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that goes for you too and all of your bands. We're all at the same level as far as like talent and credibility and all of that,
Absolutely.
But as mercenaries, we got to go out and make our money.
It's true, man. It's so true. Let's get into another tune off of Mixed Reality here. This one's called Mega Pawn King. Yay. I love that title. What's that all about?
This is from Bill, our bass player, and I've been saying this in a lot of interviews. Bill was the MVP of this record.
Yeah.
He really stepped up and not only turned in fantastic songs, but his bass playing is some of the best bass guitar that's ever been recorded on a pop rock record.
Yeah.
He really poured himself into it. And Don Dixon is a bass player. So Bill was really looking forward to spending a lot of one-on-one time with Don, perfecting the bass line. And they just totally nailed it. And this is my favorite track of Bill's that's on the record. And once we had it on tape, I knew this was the last song on the record. This needs to finish the whole thing. And I'm going to make a video for this in the Grand Canyon in October.
Nice.
So
that's
awesome. This is Mega Pawn King. That's just like a sign you might drive by.
Right on. Brand new Gin Blossoms, Mega Pawn King on the local buzz. Mega Pawn King by the Gin Blossoms on the local buzz. Robin Wilson, singer of the Gin Blossoms and pro tambourine player, I might want to add, is here in the studio.
Indeed. Is Rhythm Tech based out of Nashville, do you think?
I think so, yeah.
I've tried for years to get like a signature model or some sort of a sponsorship
I can't believe
deal,
you never had one.
I buy more tambourines than any other rock singer on the planet, and and if any one rock singer ever has deserved a signature tambourine, it's me.
I know. I would say so too.
So I don't know what the hell is wrong with those people. I don't know why. I guess I get a deal. I don't know how much I pay, but I think it's somewhere around $15 or $20 a piece.
Oh, wow.
And I typically give away at least one, and sometimes as many as 4 tambourines a night.
Oh yeah.
And that's out of my pocket. The band isn't paying for that.
Yeah.
I don't pay for Scotty Johnson's guitars, and he doesn't pay for my tambourines.
Yeah. I'm surprised you don't have a tambourine deal. I think of all the guys that have it, I think you.
There's maybe 5 professional singers on the planet that could possibly be in line for a tambourine sponsorship.
Yeah.
And I know I'm the best one of those. So
I love it.
Yeah.
No, dude, it's so good to have you here, man. And the new record, I got to say, the Mixed Reality record is really good. And I loved, obviously, the last couple you guys did too. But this one, it's just, there's something different about it. It's just, I don't know if it was the Mitch Easter and the Don Dixon. Is that a name? Don Dixon?
It's Don Dixon and Mitch Easter.
And Mitch Easter.
Yes.
I'm not sure if it was their input on that, but the songwriting feels really strong on this one.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Well, let me tell you about it. I thought I had written a song about the end of my marriage.
Yeah.
And once it was pretty much done, I realized that I had written a song about Doug Hopkins.
Yeah.
And I had written a song that I would have really wanted to show Doug in 1989, and something that I think he would have really liked. And at the same time, lyrically, it feels to me like I'm singing to Doug.
Yeah.
And again, I didn't set out to write a song for him or about him, but when it was done, I took a look at it, and all of that sort of crystallized in my head. And so I think this is a Doug Hopkins song. I think I sort of channeled Doug a little bit on this, and I wanted it to be a song that we would have recorded in 1989, and so much of the music that made me into a songwriter was written by Don and Mitch.
Yeah.
Or produced by Don and Mitch. And as I was writing these songs, I very much had REM and the Smithereens in my mind.
Yeah.
And I was thinking a lot about Doug, and all of that sort of came together in this song. And so, anyway, it's one of my favorites, and I'm glad you like it too.
Yeah, I've been playing on the show ever since it came out. Definitely one of my favorite tunes off the record, and probably going to make my best of 2018 list, FYI. Face the Dark by the Gin Blossoms right now on the local buzz. Face the Dark by the Gin Blossoms on the local buzz. What's up, guys? Andy Herrin hanging out tonight in the Holsink Mount Juliet studios with Robin Wilson, the lead singer of the Gin Blossoms.
Yay!
That is a really good song, man. And I guess for listeners who don't know, you said that you wrote it in the way you thought you were writing towards your end of your marriage to your ex-wife, but it came out that in your mind you were writing a song to Doug Hopkins, the late guitar player, played with you guys. It was 1993 he passed away, right?
Yes, and
at the peak of the fame too. At that moment, what was that like at that time?
It was the darkest. It was the darkest time of my life. It was an absolutely terrible time, and I can't say enough bad things about it. But I will say this: that Doug, he was the best songwriter I've ever worked with, and I've always missed him and I've always loved him. But our relationship got really ugly near the end, and he sort of turned on me, and it was a strange thing to deal with, because I knew that we were really close, and I knew that I had, that I was in his heart, but he didn't have the strength to be kind to me.
Yeah.
because we fired him, and and we had no other choice. But it was a really, really terrible time, and suicide, I've learned, is the single most selfish thing a person can do.
Yeah.
It's a way of saying that you don't care. I don't care enough about any of you to even just be alive.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it was a really difficult time for me and my bandmates and so many of my close friends back home in Tempe, and it really sucked. But here in the future, I look back on on all of that with all levels of emotion. I think about the fun stuff. I remember the great moments, and but mostly I am so sad for the lack of accomplishment. What we could have done.
Yeah.
If Doug and I had been able to keep working together, I always saw us as like the Perry and Tyler of the 90s. And
Yeah.
I think that if he hadn't been who he was, if he somehow had it in him to stick it out and be a professional, that we would have accomplished amazing things together.
Yeah.
But as it turned out, we still have his legacy of fantastic songs, amazing songs, the best songs that the Jim Blossoms have, and I get to go out and sing them every night, and he's always in my thoughts.
Yeah. And I always heard a rumor, I wanted to ask you if this is true, it may not be true, but I always heard that the reason that the sophomore record was called Congratulations, I'm Sorry was because you guys were huge, and then everyone was saying, like, congrats on the success, but I'm sorry about your friend.
That was exactly.
Is that true?
That was the sentence that we heard repeatedly through that time, because we had all of this buzz and success, and we were, it was everything you kind of hope for, in terms of being in a band. Suddenly you're in Rolling Stone magazine and you're on Saturday Night Live and you've got a top 10 single, and you can't even turn on MTV without seeing yourself.
Yeah.
Those are the kinds of things that you dream about happening, and all of that was happening to us when Doug committed suicide. And it's no coincidence. He did it then because he knew that was going on.
Yeah.
And he also knew that it would be like it would cause the most disruption.
Yeah.
To do it at that moment, and he was very calculated about that. And I've never spoken really in public about this, but he was fascinated with death, and he used to talk about it a lot. And I remember conversations where we were driving down to Tucson, and I remember him telling me that he was going to die before he got old.
Oh, wow.
And he was fascinated with those kinds of pop culture figures like Jim Morrison and Hendrix, that where that had happened. And I remember in the course of this conversation once going like, what are you saying? Are you really saying that you're not gonna, you're not gonna live that long?
Yeah.
And anyway, so again, this goes back. The most important thing I can say about all of this is that it's so selfish. To commit suicide, and whether or not it was just to stay in the band, but just to be alive for all of his friends and family. And so anyway, I miss him, and it wasn't entirely his fault. It turns out now, with the perspective of time, he had issues that he couldn't control, and none of us knew that. We weren't talking about stuff like that in 1991. And bipolar and things like that. That's not a term that any of us had ever heard. And, so so many of these parts of our career are kind of out of our control. And, again, all I can do is focus on the positive. This great legacy of music, and all of my favorite memories, and just being proud to be the guy who gets to go sing these songs.
And people still show up to see him and hear him, which is amazing.
They do.
I know bands who've had a hit like a year ago and they can't get people to come. Get along 25 years later, so it's definitely true.
Indeed.
So
here's a toast to Doug.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. And I think he'd be proud of this record. I really do. I think it's some good stuff.
Thank you. I think so too. I think this would have been a record he would be really excited about. And I think that I would have earned his full credibility or sense of credibility and respect by now.
Mixed Realities, the record we're talking about by the Jim Blossoms, is out now, and it's one thing we were talking today too about physical discs. And this disc you can fold into the box on the cover, like you can print it out. You said and make the actual box on the cover.
Yes, yeah,
that's cool.
I need to get that. There's a PDF document of that. It's I'm going to try and get that up on our website by the time this airs.
Okay.
So there's a file where you can print out and fold up your own version of the album cover.
That's so awesome.
So, and I'm a child of the 70s and the 80s, and we were talking earlier today at the exhibitionism thing about the album covers and how they have, novelties associated
like
with
zippers in the pants and stuff.
Right. And so, I was thinking about Alice Cooper's Schools Out, how you could fold that into a whole desk.
Yeah,
and, Cheech and Chong came with a gigantic rolling paper. And so I knew that when we made this record, I wanted there to be a do-it-yourself version of the box that's on the cover. And so I'll hopefully... for anyone listening right now, you can try checking out our website, jimblossoms.net, and I'm going to try and get that file up there somewhere on our website or somewhere in our social media by the time this airs.
Yeah, we'll share it on the Buzz website too, but that's so rad. Yeah. Well, let's get into a couple tunes you brought, just like songs that you like, because that's one thing I think is always cool to have bands come in and bring some tunes that they like. Mm-hmm. It just kind of shows people a little insight into the artist maybe they wouldn't get from an interview. Yeah. But the first tune you brought was a Johnny Marr tune, Hey Angel, which is a song that I love, by the way. So good. But yeah, you like that. What about the song you like?
Well,
besides it's Johnny Marr, and he's just kind of cool.
It's Johnny Marr. Yeah, and it's really cool. And this is the kind of song that just somehow all of the really sexy notes in me start to vibrate when I hear a song like this. It's got the kind of driving beat and the sort of minor chord melodies that just really turn me on. And my brother Lance, have you ever met my brother Lance?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so Lance and I exchange music. We always have since we were kids. And recently he played for me both of these newer Johnny Marr records. And they've become my favorite albums so far this year. And he's playing in Tempe on September 30th at the Marquee Theater. So I called Lance the other day, and I'm like, get us tickets.
Yeah.
And so we're going to see Johnny Marr in Tempe. And, for people who don't know, Johnny Marr was the lead guitar player of the Smiths. And, they're one of the most important bands of that era of music, right up there with REM. And Johnny Marr, as Lance pointed out to me, he doesn't play all this technical guitar stuff, but he makes choices that are just perfect.
Yeah.
Just every note is just exactly what it should be, and it's not super kinetic. It's just all so tasteful. And these records he's making are like the most 80s sounding records since the 80s. I mean, they have totally out 80s to the Killers.
That's awesome.
The Killers have nothing on these new Johnny Marr records. It's like everything that the Psychedelic Furs and Echo and the Bunnymen and New Order ever wanted to sound like.
Yeah.
The Church, any one of those groups would have killed themselves to have a record as good as either one of these Johnny Marr records that are out right now. And so this song is hey, can I do this because I'm trying to get a job as a DJ?
Do it. Yeah, let's hit it.
Right, yeah.
Makes it hear
this. This song is Johnny Marr. It's called Hey Angel, and you're listening to Local Buzz.
Bulletproof Heart by My Chemical Romance on the Local Buzz. What's up, guys? Andy Herrin hanging out tonight. Robin Wilson of the Jim Blossoms in here, picking a couple tunes to play tonight. My Chemical Romance, the guitar player from that band, I think Frankie's his name. Is that his name? And he has a Hey Jealousy tattoo. So you got... Yeah. So did you? I heard you got a My Chemical Romance tattoo.
Yeah, I just did last week.
That's awesome.
Right there.
Has he seen that yet?
I wouldn't know. We tagged them when I posted it on our Instagram or whatever. But I think that's so cool. That REM inspired us, and I think they got the hook for Losing My Religion from Hey Jealousy.
Oh wow!
All right, if you listen to those two songs, the hook is basically the same. And Peter Buck had just, as they were writing that record, Peter Buck came to see us as a potential producer. And so, these things it's so cool how this stuff is cyclical. If indeed it's true that, some of the guys from My Chemical Romance listen to the Jim Blossoms, well, they're one of my favorite bands. And I've been a huge fan for a long time. And they apparently, according to my ex, the first time my son ever cursed, it was singing along with My Chemical Romance.
That's how it should be done if you're going to cuss.
And I really loved that record that they made, Danger Days. I really think it's one of the best rock albums of the last 25 years. And Bulletproof Heart is my favorite song on that album. So, right on, and before that, we heard The Stripes. A different kind of tension. Fantastic, young band. I love the Stripes, and I think
Yeah.
what they do really excites me. It makes me feel like I'm 19 years old and working in the record store.
Yeah.
And another band that does that for me, I don't have them on this list, but is the Darkness.
Yeah.
They're I think the best rock band on the planet right now.
Yeah.
And they have been for the last 10 years or so.
Oh, yeah.
And most people don't even, here in the States anyway, people are totally unaware that the Darkness is still.
Oh, yeah.
They've released 5 albums, and all 5 of them are amazing. And that's the kind of rock and roll that excites me.
Yeah. No, because they always think they go back to that, I believe, in a thing called Love Song, and that's all they know,
Yeah,
but they put out great records still.
Yeah, here in the States, that's all people know. And, and also people got confused about the Darkness because a lot of people see them as a novelty, and they don't understand how serious you have to be to perform, to play at this level, to write and sing and play guitar at this level. And, their songs are fun and optimistic, and then they also take off, and they have songs about Vikings and pirates and UFOs and stuff like that. So they have this fun campy side, and I think that confuses people. Like a lot of my peers, I remember the summer we were out with Smash Mouth and Lit and all those guys, and I was trying to get all those bands to listen to the Darkness, and as soon as I would bring them up, they would just kind of go, isn't that sort of a novelty group? And I'm just like, you don't. Come on, you're in Lit, all right? You're in Lit, and Lit is a fine rock band. But believe me when I say the Darkness is, performing way above where you guys are.
That's awesome.
So anyway, hello to all my friends at Lit.
And those guys are Nashville dudes, I think, too now.
Are they really?
They moved here a couple years ago, I think.
I've always loved those guys.
Oh yeah, man, they're awesome.
They're great.
And you're kind of now doing double duty, playing with the Smithereens at some shows and stuff.
I am. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, Pat Denizio passed away last December, and bless his heart, he was one of the best songwriters of my generation.
Yeah. And
the whole time I was working at record stores, the Smithereens were releasing fantastic albums that were all produced by Don Dixon, and it's so weird that we had just made a record with Don Dixon, and then after that, completely through different channels, I got involved with the Smithereens.
Oh, that's crazy.
But I got to show up at the Smithereens sound check and be like, hey, did you guys hear that I just made a record with Don Dixon?
Yeah. Like he's the guy.
And that was really cool, And anyway, so, there also were, since Pat Denizio passed away, they want to keep the band going. And so I'm going to be doing some shows with them, singing lead vocals. And they're also working with Marshall Crenshaw. They're doing some shows with him. In fact, coming up sometime soon, it's September 24th on Long Island. They're playing with Marshall Crenshaw. I don't know the venue. But I'm going to storm down there and try and sing at least 8 songs or something. I know 12 songs already. I need to learn about 25 to do the whole Smithereens show. But hopefully a few of those will be instrumentals.
I love it. Gin Blossoms and Smithereens.
So this song that we're going to play is from their most recent record called 2011. And this is the Smithereens on Local Buzz doing Sorry. 2, 1. You're listening to Local Buzz. I'm Robin Wilson. Let me start again. 3, 2, 1. You're listening to Local Buzz. I'm Robin Wilson of the Gin Blossoms. I'm here as a guest of my friend Andy Herrin. Hello, Andy.
What's up, man?
Not much.
That was well done.
Thank you.
Very pro.
All right. That was the Smithereens, Sorry. My favorite new Smithereens song. I actually hadn't heard this one until I joined the band. And it was one they told me I was going to have to learn. So, and as soon as I heard it, I was like, holy crap, this is such a great tune. It's exactly the kind of rock and roll that I like to hear, and got me really fired up, and I was really excited to perform this with them. And anyway, I'm going out on the road with the Smithereens next January. So I don't know where we're playing exactly. I know there's going to be a New York show.
Oh, cool.
And I had a chat with both their manager and their agent, and I said, I really want to play Nashville.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that's a music town. I think we can make a big stink
if
if we do a Smithereens show in Nashville with me singing. So let's try and make that happen.
Dude, that would be a lot of fun.
So
let me know if you do.
We'll see if they, I certainly will. We'll see if I have any influence over this thing. I'm assuming not.
Dude, I'm so stoked to hear, man. Jim Blossom's new record, Mixed Reality, is out everywhere. The single break, and there's a video for it we're going to share on our blog. I'll put up on the Facebook page and everything, so by the time this airs, people can already see it. But you guys are going to spend the rest of the year pretty much on tour, and then I guess next year too already.
Well, we're going to do about 100 shows this year. It's winding up for us right now, and then we're going to have a month or like 5 weeks off.
Okay.
And then we go out again for another month, and then I'm going to do another hike with the Love, Hope, Strength Foundation. I'm looking forward to that.
Okay,
For those of you who don't know, Love, Hope, Strength is a charity that supports people who are dealing with cancer, and you can visit their website, lovehopestrength.org. And I've been involved with them for 10 years now.
Oh, wow.
And anyway, I'm going on a big hike with them. I'm going to shoot a video for Mega Pond King when I'm in the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
And then also before the tour starts in September, I'm going to be making 2 more videos. I'm doing one for Face the Dark.
Oh, awesome.
And I'm going to shoot one out on my boat for Forever Is This Night.
Okay.
So, have you ever been on my boat?
I haven't. We've always talked. Every time we've been in town, we almost went on the boat.
It's too bad.
Yeah, next time for sure, man. That'd be a lot of fun.
Anytime I'm there, of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for having me. I've been doing tons of interviews, to support the record.
Yeah.
And it's just so fucking cool that I get to do this one with you here on your show. And so thank you for, helping me promote my band.
Oh, dude.
And
of course,
thank you
man.
for your, unending support. And, it's been great to see you.
Yeah, you too, man. And anytime, and honestly, man, it was an honor having you on. And I remember for a while back, a couple years ago, I mentioned, come on up. Okay. So it definitely was good to get you up here, man. Mixed Round is out now. And
been a long time coming.
Yeah, man, for sure. JimBlossoms.net, they can find all the stuff about you guys.
They can find out all kinds of crap about the Jim Blossoms at JimBlossoms.net. But I'm excited to play this song.
Yeah, this last tune.
have been requesting this song with DJs whenever I'm on the radio since the early 90s. Anytime I've ever had a chance to choose a song on the radio, I always select this number. It's one of my favorite albums, and one of the more important influences for me as a songwriter and a lyricist.
Yeah,
is I'm going to take us out here.
Let's do it.
You're listening to Local Buzz. This is the Jim Carroll Band, Catholic Boy.